See the blessing of having you here. One of these days, we're going to find out what that little submarine noise is. But in the interim, I don't know, can you hear it? You go boing. That just means that's the signal that we're going deeper together. Going down into the catacombs of the subconscious mind. And of course, I didn't know what we would be talking about today. I guess I really don't still. But I can hear the word collaboration coming up. So it feels good to ask Jesus about that, because David would talk about this all the time, collaboration. And I'm asking him, is that helpful? He's saying, yes, it's very helpful to talk about what that is. Well, it's the antithesis of the ego, which wants to do it all in its own. It's the my way highway. It breaks that up. It's the deconstruction that we know anything. And the energy that comes in. Looking for my water bottle. Just kind of look for my water bottle, which I didn't bring in here. So Renee, bless her heart's going to go get it. And yeah, the my way highway doesn't want to get together. You know, that's one thing in corporate America, quote unquote, that's really helpfully unwinding, because you can see all the fights come up in the corporation. You know, oh, bless your heart. Thank you. You know, the fights come up and duke it out. It's like, duke it out. I didn't know I was duking it out with myself, you know, wanting to do it my way. And then really seeing the power of, and really the joy in it. Like Dyra sent me a video, and then you just say your thoughts. And I don't know that I'm right. I'll let Jesus pick. And it ended up, I have to send it. It's almost ready to send to Dyra to see what she thinks. But she took a little talk, a little clip out of it, and then of course did her magic little kind master thing with it, and then sent it for the music. And she adjusted the sound. And it, you know, so I just said, well, I'm not sure I feel that, but she's so open to everything, right? And then I'm open, and then we just keep looking. And sure enough, you know, when Renee and I were listening, it's like, it needs some kind of echo. We don't know. So it's really just totally being open, Jesus says. It's completely open and not knowing and not pushing away any ideas. See, as soon as we're pushing away an idea, that's a little tension. No, let's not do it that way. And it's for us to see where we're pushing away from ourselves, because there's no one out there to push from. Yet when there's complete openness, there's so much joy in the collaboration that comes in. But it does take mind training before that can be fully realized, because the ego is a no, no, and triple no, because it's my ideas. And I think I've shared before, I could see that play that, and I prayed to Jesus on this a lot, because I could see it where as soon as someone would say something, you could immediately, Donna, the shark would go looking out into the little file cabinet of consciousness to find out why whatever that being is saying is wrong. Or, you know, it needs adjustment or correction, which is correcting myself. That's why he says you don't correct a brother. Now, as the spirit becomes clearer, you're not correcting, you're expressing as divine being. It's a very different thing. It's hard to explain that. It's full expression of divinity, and it's very direct, and it's very, and like Jesus, it can be interpreted a lot of different ways. But it's just really to see where the slightest twitch on something is, what the slightest thing that arises, because everything that arises is an expression of infinite love and happiness. So it's Jesus, you can see how he brings beings together. Whiplash is the perfect movie for seeing this full on, where you have two beings coming together. And you wouldn't put their relationship in the holy purpose category, but watch that movie and ask Jesus if that was holy purpose for them to be together. Where the younger man, he wants to be a drummer, like his whole inspiration, I want to be a drummer. But actually deep in the subconscious mind, in terms of the expression, he's actually too attached to it. He's attached to the idea of what he thinks that is and what that means and what it gets. See, as soon as those things are in the mind, below the level of awareness, we're trapped in the maze of consciousness, of the denial of infinite love. You could say it's unworthiness, a desire for experience of not being good enough, quote unquote. It's not about the quality of the drumming, by the way. It's whether there's a full release to just letting it flow through rather than to make it happen. The doer doing the drum. It's beyond the doer. It has to drop the doer. And then it's just the joy is because it's just love expressing, unencumbered by all the thoughts and this isn't right. And if you've ever played a music instrument, you can see, I was just teaching myself piano, and I could just see I couldn't read 4 notes on the piano without that's wrong. This is you get the adding, how's it going to sound? And you're holding that and you've never been trained and you just watch that play. And I realized it got more natural as those editing function fell away, and the same on singing. You just start noticing how consciousness makes it and then judges it. Makes it all and then wants an experience of not liking it somehow. So here we have whiplash. And both in the expression of consciousness, you can see the play of unworthiness. A student that's afraid of the teacher and the teacher who's afraid of the student. It's really how the play of, there's only one, but somehow it's helpful in the play in the consciousness. So you see how the spirit uses attraction to wanting to play drums. Master Jesus. So he thought drums was his salvation if he got really good. No, our salvation's never about the drumming. It's to transcend the idea that there's a drummer. So you'll see all kinds of things in that movie that the ego would call, really cruel. It's Victim and Victimizer. It's a great watcher from Victim and Victimizer. Particularly, if you've ever had like a major professor, like in the play of consciousness, I had a mean old major professor, seemingly, that was beautiful. Forgiveness lesson, that one. I went back and had just a wonderful, loving conversation. I love him, to be free. Do you see from the one who did it to me, the one who done me wrong song. That's a great song to sing sometime. You just write all the blames you have of your brother. Tony Robbins used to have beings do that. It works spectacularly, really well. And you write somebody done me wrong and all the beliefs you have about them, and they sing it like a country western song, and it just gums the ego up totally. It can't sing like that anymore. It can't, just fries that in consciousness. I'm asking Jesus if that's helpful. Yes, it's helpful. It shows the frailty of fragmentation, the unreality of fragmentation, how easy it is just to release it. So these two really get into it. The idea of being subject to an other, or on the other case, one, you can just sit in the role of the character, whichever one you choose. Teacher, you'll see you're playing both sides anyway. Teacher, student, student, teacher. No, none of that's real. It seems for a time like you might be in collaboration with someone that seems like they're the teacher, but nobody's teaching anybody. But if they're awake, they'll know no one's teaching anyone. They're just, it's just divine expression. They're not trying to teach anything. They don't, it just, the teaching just goes out the window. Because as soon as you're teaching someone, there's a student and a teacher. And that's the death march. Done up. You're heading right off the cliff of death. So you just, it's only listening to Jesus and divine expression. See, there's no one to teach. But you'll be used purposefully by the Spirit to deliver messages. Now, why I can't say. Jesus just says it's helpful, so I trust him completely, even though there's nobody out there. There's just one. It's for me. It's most helpful for me, so I just follow that. So now you have the student and the teacher and all this crazy machinations, and you can see he's just, the student is just driving himself to prove. See, it's ego loves that prove worthiness. Ask Jesus. Jesus, do I relish the prove worthiness mode? I'm trying to prove if I work hard enough. I could see that play too here. That was actually my whole life. I'm going to climb the corporate ladder and I'm going to be, I just work. See the I came out. I'm going to work my way up that corporate ladder and I'm going to be president of a company. Who's doing that? We're talking about Whiplash is the movie. So in that movie, he's a drummer and he can work his way up, see, to drummer number 1, because he was drummer number 2. And you can see that play. How many times? Let's just see how many times in consciousness we played first violin, second violin, third violin, but we didn't need a violin to play those parts of trying to move up to violin number 1. We did it in grammar school. We try to move up to the teacher's pet. However, so he really wants to be numero uno drummer. And then the insecure expression on both they were suited for each other perfectly. Because he was insecure about being a teacher. He was secure about his own playing. The teacher is insecure about, I'm asking Jesus about his own playing ability. So he really doesn't want an outstanding student because that would then he's trying to live vicariously through students, but he doesn't want any of them to be super good. I'm confirming that with Jesus because I felt that at the time too. So now you have these two beings with the same issues, quote unquote. Muji says, tissues are for issues, crying because we have issues. So they both have the same subconscious desire of unworthiness and they're rubbing with each other. And there's kind of like a duking out going on. And then it got so extreme that all of a sudden you'll see it in the movie, it pops. He just finally says, that's enough. I'm not playing that. And he went infinite. And then they joined. They were in holy purpose. They saw the holy purpose was greater than either of them separately. And that's all collaboration is for. That's why we do. It's just like David would say, backdrop for joining. It's just the underlying, the ego likes to do things. So Jesus uses that to undo the doer, to see where the doer is, where we don't like, where we're given an instruction. We just go, I don't want to do that. Like the burying cabbages upside down here, you just discover really quickly all the way the ego plays to go, that's not going to work. This is not going to work. This is not going to work. That's not going to work. It doesn't matter if it works. See, the ego's idea it's going to work if it goes according to the ego's plan. See, with Jesus, there's no why. You take the assignment and you go ahead and just go with it. but the ego is going to go, but this is why I could see that, again, I've talked about it all the times you have an assignment from Jesus. Okay, now you're going to take this boat, little rickety boat here. Jesus telling me you were fine. But at the time, it seemed like a leap. It's always going to seem like a leap when he's taking you out of your comfort zone, because the ego is by definition, the one who doesn't want to, it wants its own idea of safety, but it's not safety, it's hell. So, and then you get prepared. He gives you little steps for the, okay, here's another thing, divine expression. Here's another one. Here's another one. And you start to see the experience here. I started to see, oh, he knows exactly where the bones are buried there. Because I've said this before, I didn't recognize that I was stopping breathing every time I couldn't find my passport, or just had one thought my passport would be lost. I could, just one thought of that, and it'd be, like we're fine. It's not terrible. There are all kinds of plays like that in consciousness. I've talked about, really, okay, Jesus, I'll do anything except ride the buses in Mexico, which of course now we do all the time because we don't have a car. But, and many joyful rides on, and holy encounters on the buses. And see, it was just an idea, it was a concept. But it has, I don't know, I'm going to say it anyway. It's okay. He says it's all right. For me, yeah, the number of times, and I've said this before, that I've said, I am not doing that in my lifetime. And I find myself, I am not doing that. And I find myself doing it. Whose voice is speaking, am not. Like, I can remember saying, I met someone on the sales team one time, and he said, and I'm living nice, warm Houston. And he said, yeah, I live in Madison, Wisconsin. I thought, I'm never living there. And then I ended up living there for like 1990 to 2014. How many years is that? Long time. But that's really the way that we just shown we're wrong, happily. And about 1,000 times, million. Maybe it's 1,000,000, but you stop counting because you get happy, and then you get reminded. It's when we don't want to be wrong that it hurts. Do you just ask Jesus? So Jesus, when I desire an experience of wanting to be right, is it going to hurt? Is that what all the pain is of the world? Really, 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 triple really wanting to be right. And we want to be right that we're not the light. I want to convince God we're not the light. You can ask Jesus. Jesus, that's the whole gig, isn't it? I'm going to prove to you and God and everyone and myself that I'm not light. Just for entertainment? See what Jesus says. Is this just for entertainment? So we trust, we have to trust the constellations. Once we ask him to help us, we have to embrace, if we're called to be with certain constellations. The ego wants to go the other way. It doesn't, this is not my constellation. This is Cancer. I'm over here in Aries, It likes rearranging its own constellation. You can see that. It likes the little constellation of family members. It calls a family. It owns that. It has a nice little, like I said, I'm just being honest with God, honesty of God, all the family members that would come to the family reunions, 107 one time, But I see now, when I look at that, I can see, oh, I'm always secure. I'll always be taken care of. I could see that play inside that having siblings, or if something happened to me, my brother, it'd be my brother who could take care of me. Or we all play these different roles in our family. So he has to take us out of the family constellation, because the ego likes to glue itself in there for a time. May be sent back. I'm probably going, yeah, it sounds like I'm going back to see my mother. And those are opportunities for healing. But sometimes when you're so close to it, you don't see it until you step outside of it. So for some, it's helpful to step out of that constellation for a while, because we're so dependent on it rather than being dependent on God. And yeah, and as he's told me before, and he's reminding me again, when I was talking about, he was talking about the holiday season, we all get all the gifts and the presents and everything. And I need to go be with my family. You're dead with your family. If we're really honest, you can't see your family for who they are. That's direct. It's true. He says it's true. You can't see them for the divine beings that they are, because you're seeing them through the filter of the thoughts you have about yourself. All your beliefs, you just decorated every member of your family. You take all the history of every time you've ever been together and all the desires of the subconscious mind, and you decorate every experience with them. And I could see that as I've talked about before, in the family reunions, you're just always talking about the past reunion. Or now there were 50 years of reunions. None of it's bad. None of it's good. None of it's wrong. It's not to judge it. It's to see in the play of consciousness. I mean, because I could see that play. Like, one of my cousins wouldn't show up. What are they thinking? What are they thinking for not, I mean, we need all 100 and 250 of them, or else, you could just, but that was the play. But you see that you deny light. You see how unholy those relationships are, by keeping your relatives and their family members as fragments. Children, children is a favorite fragment area for the ego to play out its control needs. I have control. I know what's best for you. No, the only way for children, because they can be used in purpose by spirit, the only way is to unequivocally follow Jesus with respect to children. You can ask him. And with everyone else as well. He says children are an area, all your conditioning plays. Everything you were taught as a child and how to treat them, and all your beliefs about yourself display with your children. Oh, he's really talking about the family thing tonight. He says it's helpful, because to see how embroiled we are to hanging on to those and denying infinite light of being, and they're the ego's stronghold for denying following infinite light. What will my family think? I have a responsibility to them. The number of things, all the self-sacrifice, I sacrifice myself for my family. John Mark Stroud would talk about sovereignty. sovereign being, sovereign. The only way you can be sovereign is being in alignment with the will of the Father. And with the will of the Father, you follow the light. There's no constellation of beings that holds you in place other than those that, if Jesus said, those are the ones for you to be with. That's the only way to have peace of mind, because then everything's being used in purpose for infinite love. Then he can guide and direct, and then he may send you back to your family for healing. There's been a lot of healing. He gave me assignments with my mother. I've shared it here. I think it was about 1.5 years or maybe 2, I can't remember, maybe 2 years ago. I'm losing track of time now. Okay, says it's about 2 years ago. I heard the assignment to learn the Ave Maria, an operatic Ave Maria. And so, and who was the assignment with? The assignment was to go to my mother, an opera trained singer who I never, ever wanted to get lessons from. Like, I would avoid voice lessons like the plague. That was the play. It was really cool. And we had a beautiful, I just trusted Jesus. We had a beautiful joining. She said, well, honey, just enjoy it. You know, it was very a beautiful joining over that. And just to really look directly at all ideas and judgments over singing, and that I could sing, or, you know, however it comes out. So you might get assignments with it's not to say that you wouldn't have assignments with your family. It's just to say that they have to be given by Jesus. Otherwise, we're using them to support personal identity, support ourselves within the role of a brother, sister, daughter, aunt, cousin. To have special, as he says, special love relationships, which is the special, this is the one I love. And you can see as the desire is clear, love just is, it's identity, it's who we are. So there isn't certain ones, quote unquote, that you love or not love, because you are love. See, love is what's here. So there's no one special to love. That's what the ego wants. I want to be special and I want to be loved by you. And it's all the assignments that I gave my ex-boyfriend in the play of consciousness about, you know, the tick list of all the things that were needed for romantic love. But that's was an idea, was a play that denied wholeness. But again, Jesus takes every relationship, and that was an opportunity for very deep looking at where judgment and a great love, still love him, but in an appreciation way, in a deep, deep, deep gratitude way for that relationship, for the gift of it. There's so much preciousness in it, you know, but there's no holding anymore, you know, no holding that I know of. I guess if I get an assignment to talk to him, I'll find out. Because I thought it wasn't that long ago. I don't know how long ago, within last, I know it was last 8 months or something, I had the assignment to call him. I think I told this story, and I was talking to him on the phone, and the first thing he said to me, I'm going over to Pat's house and he cooks way better than you. And I could feel the smoke, you know. It was a forgiveness opportunity right there. So we think we're free, but like many have said on the spiritual journey, you think you're enlightened, just wait till you go home to your family. You see those little devils come out of the subconscious mind. So it can work both ways in terms of sending, you know, being really looking outside of the situation, also being sent back in. But you don't lose anything. As I've said, my brother has been very devoted, started looking at the Course, and but to see past him, like not have any charge around him being my brothers or expectation. There's just love there, you know, to have those relationships purified. So it's beautiful to talk about this coming together in little projects, and it's just, you know, the ego's not going to like it at all, because again, the ego likes its little protected fiefdom. But I can see even in corporate, when I was in corporate America, Jesus was using teams and coming together and working together, collaborations to show how there's just one, not the little fiefdom. Well, I'm doing this role and I have this role and you stay out of it. And then it becomes really surprising and fresh and in the miraculous lane, because we're not out picturing the way it has to be. We're with what is, what's arising, love arising itself, the tension-free zone, rather than the no to light zone. But the moment it's out pictured of what it's going to look like, that's why we really have to go to Jesus, because it's so insidious down in those catacombs to of the conscious, subconscious mind to send out a picture. Bing. As soon as you hear something, okay, incoming. Okay, here comes a project that I'm going to need to work on. Here's assignment. And you just observe it, just notice, okay, just if you're going to collaborate with someone. It's good to be in these collaborations. If you're not in them, they're going to show really quickly where the, you know, the holding is, where the I don't want to go to Jesus is, where I'm really pissed off and don't want to admit it is. And then you just, okay, an idea comes up for whatever. And just notice, okay, here's idea number one comes up, and it's like, that won't work. It's always got a because. That won't work because this. It's just, we don't see that that's death. We do have to learn how to bury those cabbages upside down and not having an idea. And also stay with, when the Jesus tells you something, to stay with it and don't divert. Just stay with it. This is what I hear. This is what I'm following, and just really be on point with it. And yet just wonderful things can come out of that, because it's just an opportunity to see the one mind. It's assignment that takes you out of doer. There's no one doing. There's no one that owns the project. See, the ego likes to take its little, I know, I could see that play too. You know, I'd be given an assignment and then I just want to go off and just do it. And Jesus is just trying to show how much joy there is in that coming together and just at the movement of the one. But purification is needed for that first, because the ego likes its little fiefdom of what I can do. Whereas when you're in true collaboration, it's like a little discovery. You're like discovering what's new all the time. It's like fresh. It's outside of conditioning. So he uses those projects to break conditioning, little joint assignments. So if you feel you want to step into collaboration with us, those opportunities, because that's function, are provided because we know it's for us. It's for us to look at more deeply and to join with more brothers and to see any places where we're just holding on to something rather than just being with our brother. And then we can see that is a very fast way to admit that we're light. It's just an admission. And the ceasing to deny it, ceasing to deny. And just release every denial through miracles. So thank you, Jesus, for bringing us together to be reminded. And it reminds us of what our holy purpose is here. To look and then follow the assignments. And you see how much power is being shunted into personal identity rather than just flowing through easily and be guided. Okay, where do I go with this Jesus guidance, the Jesus guidance mechanism? So we'll have that little Thyra collaboration video coming out soon. And you'll see the things that come to the center, many beings have contributed to them. It's really precious. You know, it's just precious how different beings are touching each part and bringing all their love to it, you know, or doing captions or working to extend his teachings of the book through translation. It's very humbling and touching. Because it's not for anyone, it's for everyone. It's for the love of God, the love of the whole. And it's for us. So thank you, Jesus. We're sending you big hugs from down south in Mexico. I'll get a little view of the team out there. I'll turn it this way. There you go. Little Buddha on the wall. I feel like, I'm not sure which program that was where they say, y'all come back now.
Y'all come back now.
Y'all come back now. We love you. Bye.